And then it got ugly. I'm of course talking about Kenyan politics, and specifically about the food donations of Deputy President William Samoei Ruto in Kikuyu, not very far from Nairobi, CBD. It appears that after the Deputy President's team had completed distributing food in the area, somebody else sent in a white Toyota Land Cruiser, some people say it was cream, which pretended to be part of the Deputy President's team. And this food from the Land Cruiser appears to have not been normal food. There was something, it was laced with something that caused those who took in the food discomfort. In fact, 20 people fell ill. Now, on today's show, we're going to take a deeper look at this very worrying development in Kenyan politics, because it is all about politics. Yes, it was food, but the objective here clearly was to smear the Deputy President. And you don't have to be a supporter of the Deputy President to abhor, to criticize, to be completely outraged by what happened in Kikuyu on Sunday evening. Please, let's be human for once. The people I'm addressing with that know themselves, and the rest of us know them. There are those of us, when you try to do a balanced analysis, or you try to say something that comes out remotely in favor of the Deputy President, they'll start talking about honey from Sugoi. They'll start saying, oh, Kumekucha's received an envelope full of cash from somebody. Stop. Be human. Now, before we even go into the analysis, I want you to take careful note of the kind of people in Kenya who are now receiving food donations. Now, I believe you can see a photograph on your screens right now of some unfortunate members of the public from the Kikuyu area in an ambulance being taken to hospital. Clearly, those are not slum dwellers. They're not Kenyans from slums. They're not less fortunate Kenyans. No. And this is the point that the Kenyan government and many people seem to have completely missed. And it is a very critical point that we have been repeating on this channel over and over again. But people miss it. The people who have been affected by this virus manenos are Kenyans who were previously prosperous. These are Kenyans who were able to put food on the table without any problems. These were hard-working Kenyans, the engine of the Kenyan economy. When the engine of the Kenyan economy can no longer feed itself, fend for itself, and has to go for donations or rely on donations of food to survive, then you must know you're in very serious trouble as a nation. Let me just leave it at that, because today that is not our topic. That was a by the way. Now, this latest very unfortunate incident reminds me of the old Kenyan politician, old school Kenyan politician. Usually, it was somebody who does not have much schooling. Some of these politicians were completely illiterate, and they were known for practicing what we used to call in those days siasa ya kumalizana, the politics of finishing your opponent completely. Now, this group of people are very influential, so influential that their bad habits caught on even with people who were educated. So that even a well-educated politician in Kenya in those days, who wanted to be different, but ended up in some kind of crisis or trouble, would be forced back into these tactics of siasa ya kumalizana. It was also the trademark of the notorious KANU Mama na Baba political party that dominated Kenyan politics during the Moi era, and of course the Jomo Kenyatta era. Let me give you a few examples. When one of the founding fathers of the nation, the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, fell out with the government, some people decided that him being out of politics was not enough. They had to do more to completely finish him. And so one night, actually in the early hours of the morning, the late Jaramogi heard some noise outside his house. And when he came out, he found a large group of people digging holes in his shamba. And they were planting guns and ammunition. Of course, the idea was to later find them, to later discover them, and then build up a very powerful rhetoric against Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Something like, you see, this man wanted to overthrow the government. We found guns buried in his backyard, at his farm in Bondo. What were those guns for? Where did they come from? What was his intention? Etc., etc. Now, the way the Jaramogi story goes, he looked at the people planting guns in his backyard and asked them, "What are you doing?" And I imagined there were other witnesses. And so these people took their guns and took off with their tails between their legs. Of course, that plot had failed. But what if Jaramogi had not woken up? What if those evil people had succeeded? Well, the truth is, they succeeded more often in the old days than they failed. During a very hotly contested election in the constituency that used to be called Lurambi in the 70s, the campaign team and supporters of a politician known as Joshua Angatia realized that they were going to lose very badly to a man called Burudi Nabwera. And so what they did is that they took one of their senior campaign people, a very visible and prominent person, and murdered him. Now, if you murder your own campaign manager, which is easier to believe? That your opponent did it, or that you did it yourself for political reasons? Siasa ya kumalizana. The answer is obvious. Everybody will believe that this campaign manager has been bumped off by the opponent. And indeed, Burudi Nabwera never recovered politically from this incident. Every time elections came along, voters would be reminded, this is the man who murdered the campaign manager of his opponents. He was finished politically. There is this very brilliant unsung hero of Kenya, a man called Kimani Wanyoike. He was Secretary General of the Civil Servants Union for very many years. A captivating speaker, a charismatic politician. And when he entered politics, he became a victim of siasa ya kumalizana. In those days, if you came from a trip outside the country, it was against the law to keep any foreign currency with you. And so somebody planted foreign currency in his residence. And then the same people raided his residence later and found the foreign currency. And he ended up in jail. In my view, this great Kenyan never recovered from that incident. Let alone recovering politically. He never recovered as a person from what happened to him. Siasa ya kumalizana. Very effective, very brutal, very ruthless, but very effective. And so, if we are to fully understand the latest drama in Kikuyu. We must first understand Kenya's long history of siasa ya kumalizana. That also means that if we want to identify the people who are behind this, we must look for an old school politician. Somebody from the past. That is the person who must have engineered this latest disgusting political ploy from the past. And now that we have that background, let us dive into a very deep analysis of this very latest development. And you will catch that in part 2 of this video. And the link will appear on the top right hand corner of your screen at the tail end of this video. And in the description area below. If you have come too early, and you can't see the link, just take a few minutes break, come back, the link will be there. And then you can be able to go on to part 2, where I do a very thorough and deep analysis of what happened in Kikuyu on Sunday. Until then, this is Chris Kumekucha.